I've got some beef. And what do I mean by that? I mean I've got two 2.5 pound bone-in ribeye steaks that I'm going to be seasoning up, dry brining overnight, and grilling up out on the Weber Kettle. So here they are, two 2.5 pound bone-in ribeye steaks. Now these actually came from a ribeye roast that I just cut in half. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a really good seasoning so that overnight it can absorb that salt, that black pepper, get some great flavor there before we get it out on the Weber Kettle tomorrow. We're gonna be cooking it indirect and reverse searing it. This is a big enough cut of meat that you can give it that indirect time to really get close to that internal temperature you want, which for this is going to be about 125. A little bit before that, we're going to take it off and sear it directly over the coals. So first, let's get our salt on here. And the salt we're going to be using is an Arctic thyme salt from Iceland. This was a gift given to me by my sister at Christmas, and I've used different ones of these out of this package of spices. This is really good, so we're going to go heavy with this. See those little flakes of thyme in there. This is a sea salt. Now we're going to get just some good old cracked black pepper on here too. More salt and pepper. Going to take this and rub the edge on what falls off on the board. All right, these are ready. They're going to go on a tray in the refrigerator overnight, absorb all these flavors, and I'll see you back here tomorrow out at the Weber Kettle. All right, it is a rainy, drizzly, cold day here today. Our ribeyes have been dry brining overnight in the refrigerator. Let's get them on the Weber Kettle, which I've got set up with the Vortex and a couple pieces of mesquite. And we're using the Mallory M1 cast iron grate today. And we're gonna be doing indirect first. So I'm gonna be putting the bone side towards the heat source, which is over here. I'm gonna go ahead and get my internal temperature probe in one of these. I'll just be going off the temperature from that one, which I think is just slightly thicker than the other one. So let's get our lid on and get smoking. Now my bottom vent on the kettle is about 2/3 open. The top vent is 2/3 open. I'm not too worried about watching the grate temperature in here. I think we're gonna be somewhere in the 350 to 400 range. So I've only got the lid thermometer today, which is about 75 to 100 degrees off of what the grate temperature is. Might even be higher today because the thermometer is over the heat source. But what I'm looking for is 110 internal on these. When we get to 110 internal, we're gonna sear them. Ultimate temperature I'm shooting for on them is about 125 degrees internal. And then we're gonna let them rest because they are big steaks for probably about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll bring you back when we're close to that 110 internal. All right, we are at 110 internal. Let's take a look at our steaks. Even without a sear, we have a gorgeous color on those. All right, I'm gonna get the internal temperature probe out. And we're gonna sear these off one at a time. Just a couple minutes on each side, and then we'll check the internal temperature. We'll give this a turn. Looking good. I'm going to move this off the heat, and I want to check the internal real quick. Just see how we're doing here. Yeah, that's showing 108 in that spot, 115 over here. So after I sear them, I am going to give them a few more minutes indirect. Just love that sizzle. Now we're going to move this back indirect. Let's do a quick check on this one. It's about 110, so yeah, wherever the probe wasn't getting the coldest temperature. But that happens. Let's get our lid back on, and I'm going to check these in about 5 minutes. All right, we've been going about 5 minutes. Let's see how we're doing. That's showing 123. That's 125. 123 is close enough to 125. These are done. I'm going to get them off here, get them inside, cover them for about 10-15 minutes to let them rest, and then we'll have a taste. All right, here is one of our reverse seared ribeyes, fresh off the kettle, about 15 minutes rest, but there's really nothing else to do but cut into this. Now I could take it off the bone right here, and before, actually serving it to eat, I probably will, but I'm just going to cut straight across here. Let's see what we got. And there we go. That's what I wanted, that pinkish medium rare. That is exactly how I wanted this. Let's cut some long slices here. Oh, that is looking delicious. Let's turn this side and cut just a little bit out of here too. Oh man. To be honest, I'm not even paying attention to the grain. I cannot remember here. I'm probably going the wrong way. I'm just going to cut some pieces because it's time to taste. So this had no seasoning other than that Arctic thyme sea salt, some cracked black pepper, and the mesquite that we had on the charcoal. So we'll see. I don't think you need anything more than that. Wow, that is good. It is super tender. Now earlier in the video I mentioned that this came from a ribeye roast that I just basically cut into two steaks. That was $4.77 a pound for USDA choice, which is not a bad price in our area for that. So for 2.5 pound steaks here, which are going to feed 4 people easily, price-wise, it's a pretty good deal. And results-wise, it's off the chart. Just the right amount of that mesquite smoke flavor. Using those small chunks, we're not overpowering it. And it's only on there about 35 minutes. That was the total cook time today. I think the grate level temp was somewhere around 400 degrees, maybe a little bit under that. I didn't overload the vortex with a lot of charcoal. I didn't want it to be super heated. I wanted enough there for indirect and then enough remaining for a good sear, and we got it. This was a bit of a modified reverse sear because we did a little bit of indirect after that final sear. Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes that sear doesn't get you right to the temp you need. I could have gone a little bit beyond 110, maybe to 115, 120, but I don't want a chance going over that 125 too much as a final temperature because then you start to lose the level of doneness that you want. So I'd rather take it off a little early, sear it, and then have to put a little bit indirect time in at the end rather than overcook it. So if you've got some honkin' steaks and you want to cook them out on your kettle or your grill, really give thought to giving it a reverse sear. Let it have that indirect time first, give it a sear at the end, a little indirect time at the end if you need it, and you're not going to need any fancy seasonings, a little bit of smoke maybe, and you got a great meal.